Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and all variations thereof. And welcome to session 60 of Shadows of Sorcery. Today we are joined by 3 of our 4 wonderful players. Because one of them is missing in action. Unknown, whereabouts unknown. Prodigious Maximus has been Prodigious Maximus away. But today we are joined by 3 of the 4. Starting in first place every time, it's Ingvar Svan, played by Lydia. Prod's abs exploded the universe. Once again, firing in from the shadows, it is Darren Moran, as played by Lion. And attempting multiple Eldritch Blasts and missing every single one of them, it is Arcus, the librarian, as played by Zarian. Who wants to do the recap? Oh, you guys are getting good at this. You guys are learning. I'm happy. I'm so glad. I Pavlovian trained you to hear the word recap and become immediately silent. You've muted yourself, like. I see. Okay. You don't hear anybody, you only hear me. Okay, hold on, let me... Yeah, no, that's... The Discord audio isn't transmitting, hold on.
Well, in that hole there was a rare treat. There we go.
Wonderful.
No, keep going.
That song goes for a while.
It's
We got a few hours.
It's an Irish folk song, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
For some reason, I thought you were breaking into Vo, you bought.
No. Let go.
Right.
I
So
can start chanting Dulaman, but you never understand it.
last we left off, I'll recap what happened the session before last, and then I'll recap what happened last session specifically. So the session before last, our party of adventurers went to collect their reward after meeting Othar, an old friend of Ingvar's, who is now working here in Matina at a warehouse. You encountered a figure that was oddly reminiscent, in fact almost identical, to Gabriel Blackwood, a man that you had dispatched several weeks before. And after learning of this man's whereabouts, you went off to the Magisterial Palace, where you were intercepted by some of the guards and told to head to a specific office to get your reward for the assistance and stuff at the Temple of Light. assisting the guards, the watchmen, and the paladins Henna. However, things were not as they seemed, and you left the magisterial palace in a hurry after being attacked by a pair of stone golems disguised as guards. Darren, having that alert feed, you spied out of the corner of your eye as you were sprinting out of the palace the aforementioned guards hogtied in a corridor, an empty corridor behind a pair of plant pots. The four of you sprinted out of the magisterial palace, having rescued a undersecretary of some form who implied to you that part of the situation here in Matina is that the Carnifex is attempting to influence the government and is attempting to put several people in place in the sort of magisterial chambers. In fact, one of them is set to be inaugurated as the chief watchman after the current watchman steps down, in quotation marks. You sprinted back to your chambers and then decided that it had been a very stressful day and that you all wanted to go take a bath. So you went to a bathhouse. Prod and Darren friend-zoned each other. And then the next day they went out bro bonding. The next day, I don't know what Ingvar and the librarian were doing, but Darren and Prod went out and helped figure out Darren how to fly. Darren has now achieved flight and overcome his fear of height for the most part. Yeah, that's kind of where we left off. I mean, admittedly, I did have the librarian roll a wisdom saving throw at the end of last session, and I did have you roll a wisdom saving throw at the end of last session as well, Darren. So, before we do anything, we are going to go to the day before, the day where Prod and Darren were out and about in the city, and people were taking bets on how well Darren would be able to fly. We are going to take a look at what Ingvar and the librarian were doing. Let's start with Ingvar. Ingvar, you had the day to yourself in Matina. What did you decide to do?
Okay. Touristy things. Look around, see what the town. It's not a town.
See what the city has to offer?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll me an investigation check. Or just a perception check, whichever one you want.
I'm just will be a perception because it's plus. Where's my baseball, please? That'll be an 11.
Okay, 11. You wander around most of the day, looking in little stalls and taking in the warm, somewhat sandy air of Matina. Eventually, you come across a small, tucked away kind of... It looks like a back alley shop, but it's odd. As you're turning around down this alley, and you're looking around, you notice one Theron the man who looks ever so similar to Gabriel Blackwood, walking down the alleyway away from you. He hasn't noticed you, but he's looking around, and you watch as he darts off into this secluded little shop front. It's got a battered old sign above it that has been so very scratched up that it's really impossible to tell what it says. The windows are grimy and dusty, and there's the street itself is like one of the less traveled ones. There's like boxes and barrels piled up against the walls. There's a couple of like stray bits of refuse and rubbish just over the floor. There's sand piled up against various walls. It looks like people don't travel down here often. At least that's what you feel like it does.
Can I sneakily follow him?
Sure. Roll me a stealth check, please.
Jesus. Gone. That's a 30.
13. Okay. You try and sneak. And you feel, for a man with a heavy metal leg, you manage to sneak relatively well. As you approach the door to the shop, you sort of, it's this heavy wooden door. It's got this like little set of glass panels in the front. You look up through it, and you see Theron standing at a counter talking to a wizened old woman. She looks to be in about her 70s or 80s, maybe. Human. She looks angular, is the best way to describe her. Sharp. Very tall, very thin. Small glasses perched on the edge of her nose. She's wearing a shawl around her shoulders. She looks like a professor of some sort. Or professorial in nature. Not the grandmotherly kind of woman. And as she's talking to Theron, you can't really make out what they're saying. The glass is grimy and lip reading is kind of difficult, especially when the woman keeps bobbing her head in front of Theron, so you can only catch half of what they're actually saying at all. You do manage to read from her lips. You manage to read the word dead and safe. Before you notice that she has noticed you. Or at least she thinks she's seen something outside the door. And you watch as Theron starts to turn around.
Oh bugger. Okay, because so can I dug out the wind? Would hide in plain sight work in this alleyway?
What does hide in plain sight do?
You can spend spend 1 minute camouflaging yourself. You must have access to the root plants and other materials which to create your camouflage. And then suck yourself against the wall.
If you had a minute to do so, that would work. But it takes a minute, which is a relatively long time in this area.
Fair in that case, can I just bugger off then?
Yeah, you can bolt it if you want. You can try and bolt it. Like either you can rely on your previous stealth roll and try and stealth away, or you can just sprint out of there.
Oh,
if you rely on your
I'm just
previous...
I'm just running.
Okay.
I've noticed. I'm just going.
Yep, that's fair. You sprint down the alleyway, and just as you turn the corner, you hear the little bell over the door, ding, ding, ling, 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 and the door opens, and you think you got away without being properly seen.
Right.
Meanwhile, Arcus, you have the day to yourself. What are you doing? You watched Darren and Prod walk out the inn that morning as you were poring over some books at a table. You watched Ingvar say that he was going to go sightseeing for a bit. So you have the day to yourself. What are you doing?
Let me think. I'm kind of like, what is the city known for again? Like, just in general.
So Matina itself? Matina itself...
I mean, it kind of seems like a training hub kind of place.
Are you asking, like, what its main exports are, or...
Yeah, like, what is the main thing people come for?
What is the main people come
Matina?
to Matina for? Matina is a trade city. So it's a trade hub on the border of Radavi and the southern part of the continent, basically. Radavi is the empire that stretches mostly up to the north. Like, there's a small pocket of the north that doesn't belong to Radavi, that belongs to a completely different faction. But between Radavi and the two different southern empires, Matina is kind of on the joining point between all three. It's like on the divisory point.
It's the tri-state area.
Kind of. It belongs specifically to one empire. However, it belongs specifically to one of the southern empires. However, it acts as a trade hub for all three.
Yeah, so it's a big trading city is the main takeaway, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to go and try and find some magic item shops or like auctions, because presume there's quite like a lot of rare wares coming through if there's this much commerce happening.
Well, you know Ekron has a shop here. But you haven't found any others. So if you want to go and look for some other sort of like magic item shops, you can roll me an investigation check for that.
Yeah, one sec. I forgot to boot up my Tail Spire sheet thing. There we go. $15. Not great.
That 11 on your investigations is saving your ass.
That's why I got proficiency in it. It's very useful.
Mood.
Okay. 15. You walk around the city. You do spot Ingvar kind of browsing around, and then you kind of watch them walk off, and you're like, okay, well, yeah, I'm sure I'll see them later. And you look around for a bit, and you find a place called Lagura Regaris. It's a little, it's a pokey little shop. It's next to a pokey little shop, but Lagura Regaris is the main auction house in the city. Or should I say, Lagura Regaris presides over the main auction house in the city and has plastered his name across everything in that area. As you start to see posters and massive billboards, and you enter into this sort of incredibly vast hall where multiple auctions are going on at the same time. a dozen different pieces being sold all across various pieces of flooring. It's a massive vaulted ceilinged warehouse that essentially has multiple people that are just constantly selling stuff and constantly buying stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Is there anything unusual that's being sold that I would be interested in? Like, what kind of stuff is there? Is there, like, any scrolls? Are there any cool books or grimoires?
With a 15 investigation, I'll say that there are 2 items that you might have an interest in. One is a locked chest. It's about the size and width of a full size keyboard. About 5 inches tall, and it has iron inlay on it. But that's not the thing that strikes you as weird. The thing that strikes you as weird is that with your passive detect magic, you immediately sense an extraordinary amount of infernal magic radiating off of specifically the bindings on the chest. The iron inlay itself is radiating infernal magic. The second item is something a little more commonplace. It's a small scroll case with a seal on it that bears a pair of crossed battle axes. And it seems possibly magical, but you're uncertain. It might be a spell.
Okay. Is there any, like, appraisal certificate with any of these items? I'm guessing not.
Well, what you're seeing is the items as they're being auctioned.
Yeah.
So there's no appraisal certificate. All you know is that these 2 items are being auctioned at the same time. So you can only pick one if you want to try and bid.
What's the starting bid for the chest?
The starting bid for the chest is 100 gold.
It's not that bad. There is one other thing I actually want to know about this entire place.
Okay.
Who looks like they're the owner?
Oh, that's easy to spot. Lagura Regaris is the owner, and he is very easy to spot. He is a heavyset orcish gentleman, wearing the tallest hat you have ever seen in your life. He is consistently bedecked in... You're relatively sure they're not real diamonds, but that many diamonds on a coat is a little blinding. Like, it feels like you walked into a room and you were looking at a disco ball, basically.
Okay, well, is kind of by guards? Is he kind of out in the open, available for conversation?
He's out in the open. He's talking to people. He's directing things. The thing about this man is he is there to make a statement, specifically that he is wealthy, or that he presumes to be wealthy. You do notice Roll me a perception check. Okay. You do
20,
notice
30, 20.
You do notice two people who are sort of within 10 feet of him, who are like not really doing anything, but you're relatively certain that they're bodyguards. The fact that they're not doing anything in this space, they're not bidding on anything, they're not moving anything, they're not like doing anything, that tells you that they're probably his bodyguards.